Arsenal are no longer a project people talk about with potential. Right now, Arsenal are a team the entire football world is watching with expectation. Back-to-back semi-finals in the UEFA Champions League is not luck, it's progression. And more importantly, it's a shift in identity. This is no longer about whether Arsenal belong at this level, it's about whether they can actually win at this level. Because let's be honest, at the start of the season, very few people saw this coming. Not because Arsenal lack quality, but because consistency in Europe is ruthless. You don't just show up 2 years in a row at this stage without structure, mentality, and growth. And yet here they are again. But this time, it feels different. This time, they're not just participants. They are being measured. Now when you break down how they got here, especially that second leg against Sporting CP, it tells you everything about their current level. On paper, it looks controlled. A 1-0 aggregate win, clean sheet, job done. But the reality was far more uncomfortable. Sporting pressed aggressively, disrupted Arsenal's rhythm, and exposed something we've seen recently. Arsenal can control games without fully dominating them. That moment when Sporting hit the post? That wasn't just a chance. That was the emotional turning point. If that goes in, the entire tie flips. And that's the key concern with this Arsenal side right now. They manage games well, but they don't always kill them. And when you zoom out to recent performances, that pattern becomes clearer. In the Premier League, Arsenal have looked slightly less sharp in attack compared to earlier in the season. The structure is still there, the control is still there, but the cutting edge, that final action in the final third, has dropped just a little. Not dramatically, but enough to matter at this level. You can see it in the small details. The final pass slightly off. The timing of runs not perfect. Finishing lacking that ruthless instinct. It's not poor form. It's fatigue, pressure, and the accumulation of a long season. But here's the flip side, and it's a big one. Defensively, Arsenal are elite right now. 8 clean sheets in 12 Champions League matches is not a coincidence. That structure, discipline, and collective understanding. Under Mikel Arteta, Arsenal have built something that travels well in Europe. Even when they're not at their attacking best, they don't collapse. They survive. And in knockout football, that's everything. Now comes the real test. Atletico Madrid led by Diego Simeone. And this is where things get serious. Because Atletico are the complete opposite stylistically, but equally dangerous. Where Arsenal want control, Atletico thrive in chaos within control. They don't need the ball. They don't need rhythm. They need moments. Recent Atletico performances show exactly that. In La Liga, they've been inconsistent in terms of dominance, but extremely consistent in competitiveness. They stay in games. They frustrate opponents. They absorb pressure and punish mistakes. It's not always pretty, but it's brutally effective. And Simeone's comments about Arsenal? Calling them one of the strongest teams they faced, even comparing them to his 2014 side, that's not random. That 2014 Atletico team reached the Champions League final. They were disciplined, aggressive, mentally unbreakable. So when Simeone draws that comparison, it's respect, but it's also strategy. Because now, the pressure shifts. Arsenal are no longer the underdogs. They're being framed as equals. And that changes everything psychologically. Simeone understands this perfectly. He knows that when expectations rise, decision-making changes. Players hesitate more. They feel the weight of moments. And against Atletico, hesitation is deadly. Tactically, this tie is going to be a clash of philosophies. Arsenal will try to control possession, dictate tempo, and create structured attacking patterns. Atletico will sit deeper, compress space, and wait for transitions. They will target moments, turnovers, set pieces, isolated duels. And here's the key battle: patience versus precision. If Arsenal become impatient, start forcing passes, or lose positional discipline, Atletico will punish them. But if Arsenal stay calm, move the ball quickly, and take their chances when they come, they can break Atletico's structure. Because despite Atletico's strength, they are not unbeatable. They have shown vulnerabilities against teams that move the ball quickly and attack with clarity. The problem is, you have to be clinical. And that brings us back to Arsenal's biggest question. Can they finish? Because chances will not come in volume like they might in the Premier League. Against Atletico, you might get 3 or 4 real opportunities across 90 minutes. Maybe less. And those moments decide everything. Now let's talk mentality. This is where Arsenal's growth will be tested more than anything else. Last season, they were learning. This season, they are expected. That shift changes how players approach these games. Do they play with freedom? Or do they play with fear of making mistakes? Because Atletico will push them mentally. They will slow the game down, break rhythm, provoke reactions. They will turn it into a battle, not just a football match. And Arsenal have to be ready for that. Now, my prediction, and this is where it gets real. This will not be a high-scoring, open tie like PSG versus Bayern. This will be tight, controlled, and decided by fine margins. First leg will likely be cagey, with Arsenal having more of the ball but struggling to break through consistently. Atletico will create danger in transitions. It could easily be a 1-0 either way or even a draw. Over 2 legs, it comes down to one thing: efficiency. If Arsenal convert their chances, they go through. If they waste them, Atletico will punish them and edge the tie. Right now, based on recent performances, this feels like a 51-49 type matchup. Slight edge to Arsenal because of their defensive structure and control, but it's incredibly close. Prediction: Arsenal to edge it narrowly over 2 legs, but only if they find that missing sharpness in front of goal. If not, Atletico will drag them into a war and win it their way. And that's what makes this semi-final so fascinating. It's not just about tactics. It's about identity, mentality, and who handles pressure better when everything is on the line. Because this is the moment Arsenal prove whether they are still building, or finally ready to finish.